Minnesota sports flowing in their veins. Mackey and Judd on Score North and ScoreNorth.com.
Having foundational points to your culture is a great thing, but if it's not a consistent thing that we hold each other accountable as much as possible in the right kind of ways every single day, it really means nothing if it's not a consistent thing. So I'd really say those 3 C's right there of collaborating that goes on, the communication that goes on, and then the consistency to make sure that those 2 things are always happening to go along with having great people in the walls of this building.
There he is, the new head coach of the Minnesota Vikings, Kevin O'Connell. Or is he?
So.
Or is
what?
he?
I'm sorry, what?
What?
My earphones are going out.
What?
Let's do this. All right, this is Mackey and Judd here, and it's a Tuesday on the show, and usually we do reckless speculation on a Thursday, but let's do reckless speculation Thursday on a Tuesday here.
Reckless speculation.
We're gonna get into all the different reports coming out about quarterbacks maneuvering around the NFL. But just since we're in the safe space here, we don't have to do a ton on this because they could drop a press release.
We're among friends.
But are you guys a little nervous? It's Tuesday. I mean, the Super Bowl's been over for 40 hours at this point. No press release yet. There's some rumors about McVay retiring after winning.
I find it a bit odd. I'm not going to say 100% Kevin O'Connell's coming here. Everybody's wrong. But I will say, I'm not DEFCON wise. So DEFCON goes from 5 to 1 in a good way,
Correct.
right?
One is like bad.
Bad, right? Five's the good.
War. Yeah.
I'm at a DEFCON 4. I'm sort of curious about this, but I'm also not panicking.
Okay.
But
what's the percent chance Jim Harbaugh could still become the head coach of the Minnesota Vikings?
It's not. No.
Zero.
No.
Is it non-zero? Is it above zero?
No, Wetmore. I think it's zero.
But here's my problem. A personal dilemma. If Kevin O'Connell doesn't take the Vikings job, it's because he's going to take the Rams job because Sean McVay has decided at the tender age of 36 to, for now, go into broadcasting. Here's my dilemma. I want McVay in the booth. Pretty badly.
I do too.
Pretty badly.
He has nothing with this. He has nothing else to prove at this point.
But what I'm saying,
you're not going to catch Belichick. You're not going to get six titles.
The Romo thing was so good in its first year. It was so much fun, and I took so much glee in his joy of talking over Jim Nantz that I think McVay would be unbelievable. We talked about this on Monday. I think he'd be outstanding.
Well, then hire Raheem Morris to be the replacement.
I'm just saying.
Oh, by the way, I would just this is great either way for the Vikings. If let's say Sean McVay takes the Monday Night Football job and they pair him up with Al Michaels, he retires from football, and they say, "Ooh, sorry Vikings," but and Kevin O'Connell's like, "I didn't know that this job was." By the way, Kevin O'Connell has probably been a close confidant of Sean McVay throughout this entire process.
Sure.
So he would have known before taking the Vikings job that Sean McVay was on the edge. So I don't know what the inner workings are. And by the way, the Vikings could drop a press release now during our recording of this and render this conversation useless. But the Vikings are in a good spot. I would take Raheem Morris as a head coach. So give me either Raheem Morris or Kevin O'Connell, and I'm good. Whoever the Rams take whoever you want. Vikings can take the other one.
DEFCON 4.
I'm good.
I'm at DEFCON 4. I'm fine for the most part.
I'm at 3.
Oh,
I'm at 3. I want the Air Force is ready to mobilize in 15 minutes. I have the horn here, ready to call the damn Air Force to start getting mobilized.
That's got to be a red phone, Declan. If that's not a red phone, it don't count.
Mackey gave me red phone, but it's not my. Oh right, here we go. Hold on.
That's right. I gave Declan my bat phone.
Here we go. I got the red phone.
Yes.
So, all right, I'll call the number.
Literally have a bat phone.
The Air Force. The Air Force is ready to mobilize in 15 minutes. Raheem Morris and Jim Harbaugh, please be ready to mobilize.
Jim Harbaugh's out. You're right, Declan.
By the way, as Paulie Pabst from the Dan Patrick Show tweets, Tony Romo makes twice as much money to call games as Sean McVay makes to coach them, which is amazing.
Yeah. $20 million, right?
Yep. And Sage Rosenfels chimes in. More importantly, Sean works 365 days a year. Tony Romo works about 75, maybe 75, probably far less than 75. Tony, so he's for sure working 17, some playoffs. So call it 20, like on game day.
Yep.
He's definitely working the day before game day. So let's call it 40.
40.
Yep.
And then he's probably sprinkling in, maybe there's a third day of work. Like he's prepping for the games and stuff.
Okay.
So
He works exactly how many pressurized days do we think?
pressurized days? Zero.
Yeah, because like a coach's life is nothing but pressurized days.
Yeah,
Like
Tony
you're-
Romo's even during the Super
Okay,
Bowl, there's some
okay.
pressure, but like he's just speaking from his
He's
life as a
eating
quarterback.
well. He's golfing. He doesn't really concern. If your team wins, he doesn't care. If
Yeah.
your team loses, that's the thing. Zero pressure, $20 million a year. Tell me that doesn't sound
That's
good.
amazing. I mean, yeah, and those are probably the conversations Sean McVay is having right now with his agent, right?
And his
And
soon to be
ESPN.
wife, right?
Yeah. All this is happening. And then, of course, the Rams are then having discussions like, oh, my God, he's leaning in this direction. If that happens, what are we going to do? And that's
KOC?
why KOC has not been announced as the Vikings coach yet. Just saying. So we'll see. All right. Here's the other thing.
All right.
Some interesting reports coming out here today. One of them is less of a full-on report, and it's more of just like a sourced-out speculative article from our friend of the show, by the way, Mike Sando from The Athletic. Mike Sando has about, give or take, 50 different sources inside the NFL, executives, scouts, general managers, players. And so anything he writes it's like 20% coming from him, and him sort of just like theorizing things based on the other 80%, the conversations he's having. And his article today explores the potential movement of multiple quarterbacks. Kirk Cousins is not included in this article, but keep Kirk Cousins in mind because the Vikings have to figure out what to do with him still. It sounds like internally they're leaning toward maybe figuring out a way, Pelissero reporting, or figure out a way to keep that contract, cooking in a way that benefits the team. But Mike Sando has written about the Aaron Rodgers situation. Signs are pointing to him probably staying in Green Bay. I'll spare you reading the whole thing, but signs are pointing to him probably staying. On the Brady situation, he's saying based on conversations, Brady retired from the Bucs, said goodbye to the Bucs, has had some issues with what's happened behind the scenes, but doesn't want to, light the grass on fire. He's just not going to nuke everything. He's just, hey, I want a title. I'm good. I'm comfortable. I retire. But if a team like the 49ers, specifically, as written in this article, comes along and says, well, I mean, if you want to play one more year, play for your favorite childhood team, you're a Northern California guy, right? That Tom Brady would absolutely entertain it. So he's saying Brady to the 49ers is a real thing to watch over the next few months. He's also saying the Kyler Murray situation, in addition to the Chris Mortensen reporting from Sunday, is weird, that he is immature. There's some major leadership issues. He doesn't put a lot of work in Monday through Saturday, but that he thinks they'll probably figure out a way to make it work in Arizona, so he's probably not going anywhere. Carson Wentz probably gone from Indianapolis. Jimmy Garoppolo probably gone from San Francisco.
Right.
So take all that, and then also consider this Albert Breer report from sometime, I think, in the last 12 hours.
Reckless speculation.
That the Commanders, Eagles, Panthers, and Broncos are all prepared to take, quote, a major swing at the quarterback position this offseason, end quote.
Batter up.
So if you're scoring at home and you're looking for the sort of the scoreboard of supply versus demand, the Buccaneers are a win now roster looking to, they might lose some free agents, but looking for a new quarterback. The Commanders, Eagles, Panthers, and Broncos brings us to 5 teams looking to take big swings at quarterback. I would also throw the Steelers in this mix, who don't have a quarterback, right?
Yep.
And I think we should probably throw the Browns in here, too, as a team that reportedly is sick of Baker Mayfield and wants to add that final piece. So that's 7 teams looking to take a big swing, if you count the Browns, at quarterback.
Trying to win now.
Yes, in 2022.
Okay.
What are your thoughts on that, and how does it affect the Kirk Cousins discussion here in the next 4 weeks until the league year opens up?
It impacts the whole thing because you are now going to have teams desperate calling around saying we're at a point now in as you just ran through, Phil, a lot of these situations where we feel a pressure or a need to win right now, we will give you what you want. We will give you a first round pick. And in fact, if we have issues with a certain quarterback's payday, we will give you more than a first round pick if you will pick up part of the cap charge for said player in 22. So the interesting thing about this, and where I think the curveball is going to occur, I think we are in this town, in particular, looking at this all wrong. Okay, because we're like, I shouldn't say we. A lot of Vikings fans are like, well, they're not going to trade Kirk. KOC loves Kirk, assuming that KOC is indeed coming. You know what we're assuming, though? We are assuming Aaron Rodgers is going to leave the Packers. I think that's flawed. Aaron's a weird ass dude. Like, this is a weird guy. Like, but I mean, not in a typical athlete way. Not in that. Well, he's weird, but I know he is weird. He is certifiably weird. And what did he want? Like I said, and we talked about this all last summer. He's not going to show up for camp. He has made it clear he's pissed off. And what happened? The Packers basically said, no, we'll do what you want. And he showed up right away, right? The Packers are now, according to Schefter on Sunday, the Packers are now prepared to do everything Aaron wants again. Aaron wants to run the Packers. Like we think, like,
bring back Randall Cobb again.
Exactly. But I mean, we the normal thing is, I'm sick of you. You're sick of me. Trade my sorry ass. Bye. Aaron's not like that. Aaron wants to run the team. They are allowing him to run said team. Fans will say, well, look at Aaron's cap hit and look at this and look at that. No. He wants to be owner, GM, and coach. And if he gets that, he's staying there. Yeah. And so Aaron, to me, very likely out of this mix. And now it gets more intriguing, because if Aaron's out of the potential quarterback carousel mix, Kirk goes up. Like you got to call on Kirk then. So I'm just saying, this thing is going to play out in a way that might be too advantageous for the Vikings' future, not to listen and perhaps move, not because we hate Kirk, but because imagine what the haul could be for Kirk if Rodgers' name disappears from the carousel list.
Well, you think about it, right? In markets that were, I would say, much less seller friendly in previous years, Matthew Stafford and the haul that the Rams had to pay to get him, right? I mean, they had to attach a first-round pick to Jared Goff in addition to a first-round pick for Matthew Stafford. There's another pick in there somewhere too, but it was multiple first-round picks,
right?
And then Carson Wentz, who was he was damaged goods coming from Philadelphia. That wound up being a first and a third-round pick.
Yep.
So if you take Aaron Rodgers off the board, that's funny, because on one hand you could say, well, you want Aaron Rodgers out of the division so that you can have an easier path to short-term success, right? But if you zoom out even further to what you're saying, if Aaron Rodgers stays in the division, it probably jacks the price tag up, supply and demand, right? Like, there's a ton of demand. We just went through 7 or 8 teams that are reportedly actively looking to make a huge push to win this year. They need a quarterback. Well, if you take another piece of the supply off the table, Kirk moves up, you could wind up getting way more value in a trade for him for the long haul, for picks that you can use on players for this year, next year, 2022-23. So it's if you take Rodgers off the board, who are the available known commodities at quarterback, right? It's Russell Wilson, and by the way, there's no guarantee. I mean, they don't have to trade him. And I don't think Russell Wilson is the type of guy. I think this is my read on this. He's such a nice guy, right? Like he floated those 4 teams through his agent and through reports last year at this time, and it was kind of like, hey, he totally wants to stay, but I mean, like, if it doesn't work out, here's a very specific list of 4 teams that he would play for. But I don't think he's the type of guy to go completely nuclear on a franchise that he's won a Super Bowl with. He's made his disappointment known behind the scenes, but I don't think if the Seahawks say, Russ, we're going to keep you, man. There's no way we're going to trade you. I don't think he would say, I'm burning this bridge. I will not report to anything. I think he's just too much of a nice guy, team leader guy.
Yep.
So he's at best like 20 or 30%. If you get past Rodgers and Russ, Deshaun Watson's still out there, but that whole situation is still unresolved, and he's an incredible quarterback, but it's such a murky, weird situation. I mean, Kirk Cousins has some flaws, but he plays all the time. He's accurate, much like the Vikings thought they were doing in 2018. You could talk yourself into thinking, oh, he's the stability we need at this position. We've got a great roster.
Right.
That we just plug him in.
Yep.
He's probably, if Rodgers and Wilson are off the board, like Jimmy G, teams are looking at Jimmy G and saying, I don't know, he can kind of like light a game on fire. At least Kirk doesn't light games on fire like Jimmy G does. He might be the number one commodity on this list. It's so interesting.
Well, and Kirk,
so interesting.
And think about this too.
Speculation.
So I am Quasi, and I get the call. I get the call from Take Your Pick, Tampa Bay. What about Kirk, Quasi? I'd say, yeah, guys. You know what? KOC loves Kirk, loves him. Looking forward to the opportunity to get the most from Kirk, which I would argue that during the Zim years they didn't do here. It's going to cost a lot. And Tampa says, we don't care. We want him. We want him bad. KOC loves him. Productive quarterback. To your point, Phil, durability off the charts, because that's true. No doubt about that one.
Yeah, he never misses a game.
Again, think about those. He's a stock. He's a stock. And, baby, that stock is going up.
Is his stock ever going to be higher? He's still going to be 34 years old?
Zero chance. Zero. His stock to other teams, I would argue, is higher than it was when he signed here, because there was questions then about, well, he got franchised in back-to-back years. It turns out that he had gotten a multi-year offer from the Commanders, but it turned out it wasn't great, and Kirk said, no, I'm out. And so I think Kirk signed here as well, there's probably more there, but we're not sure. I think the way that you could frame Kirk right now is so appetizing, because you can literally say Zim screwed him. Everything that the Kirk stands say is the portfolio that I want out there. Everything. Mm-hmm. Zim screwed him. I mean, KOC wants to work with him. Are you telling me you're trying to get Kirk right now?
Yeah, well, it is funny how that. Yeah, because it's like, as of right now, he's kind of been exonerated, right? It's kind of, hey, if Kirk would have had a more offensive-minded coach, if Kirk would have had a general manager that could build an offensive line, if all these things, the defense melted down the last couple of years. I mean, never mind the fact that the Vikings were literally one of like the 4 best teams in the NFL at 13-3 when they signed him, and and they missed the playoffs in his first year. Like, he has like the stink is on other people here right now. And he's kind of that type of quarterback too, because his entire the way he goes about playing the position is to avoid mistakes, and so he's always kind of blameless, right? Don't blame me. I didn't throw a pick.
Yeah,
it's like but like you also didn't like make the big pass in like you chose to check down to Tyler Conklin in a situation where we really needed a 15-yard gain. Like, a lot of the holes in his game are sort of easy to say, well, yeah, but I mean, look at his passer rating, look at his completion percentage. Yeah, but what about that? We really needed a sustained drive with 5 minutes left, and you went 3 and out, and then the defense got blamed. It's like the stink is kind of off of him more than it was maybe in previous years here.
Yep.
So these teams that are being reported now, like Albert Breer, the Commanders are interesting because the team president for the Commanders, you might think, there's no way he'd go back to Washington, right? Well, first of all, like, the Vikings can dictate where he goes. I think he can dictate his contract situation. So it does have to be, it's not a full no trade clause, but he can essentially say, you can trade me there, but I'm not going to sign an extension that smooths out the cap hit. So there's a little bit of a cat and mouse here. But one thing to watch, the Commanders team president that was hired 2 years ago after Kirk left shares an agent with Kirk Cousins. Now, I don't think that agent is actively working for the Washington team president, because it was his, remind me, I can't remember his name, but he was a former player. And he's like, in his mid to late 30s, he's the Washington team president. His agent when he was a player is Kirk Cousins' agent right now. Okay. So Washington popping up on this list is interesting. Eagles, Panthers, Broncos. I am at least having conversations with all of those teams to get a feel. And the Broncos know what they're getting. George Payton's over there, right? I'm having conversations with all those teams saying, listen, we would love to keep Kirk because KOC worked with Kirk, assuming that KOC comes over from the Rams. It hasn't been official yet. But if you guys want to give us 2 first-round picks, it'd be tough for us to say no.
And I've got it. I've got it because it makes perfect sense. If you are willing to bite the bullet that you should bite in 2022, if you are crazy, you get 2 first-round picks by trading Kirk to a team. And then if Kirk says, I'm not going to sign an extension there, you say, you don't need to, Kirk, because we are still going to pay a part of your freight on the salary cap for said team. That then immediately attaches a second pick to that move, the good faith move. So I say to the Commanders, I want you to win. Washington Commanders, great name. Commies, I want you to win. How do we get the commies? How do we get the commies a Lombardi in 22? I'll tell you how. We help you out because we're not going to be that good, and we're cool with that. So that's the proverbial Jared Goff piece. That's the attached piece that gets me a second first-round pick. But to go back to your question, Phil, no matter what anybody thinks of Kirk, you are exactly right. The perception of Kirk and his price tag and the amount of desperate teams has never and will never be like this again. Yeah. This is a rare opportunity to move a stock at absolutely the right time.
Yeah, and I love one of my favorite gotcha questions that people tend to ask is, well, wait a second, if you think Kirk is garbage, which, by the way, no one on this show has ever called Kirk Cousins garbage. He's one of the top 14 quarterbacks in the world. The beef has always been about his glass ceiling, his contract, the way that he sort of shrinks when the game gets improvisational, so all those things. But people will say, well, if you think he's so garbage, then why would you also then be saying that a team would give up a first-round pick for him? Let's rewind back to 2018. It's all situational.
Yeah.
The Vikings knew that there were some risks with Kirk, and they thought, you know what? Let's get him in here. We got some better infrastructure than Washington. Our defense is the best in the NFL, so he's not going to have to score 30 points like he did in Washington. And he's going to have Stephon Diggs and Adam Thielen. Like, there are teams in the NFL that look and say, boy, the Vikings, where they're at now, had one of the worst defenses in the NFL. They had a defensive-minded coach. If we can just bring a guy like that in over here, we've got a ready-made roster. The Broncos have a top 3 defense right now. They've got Jerry Jeudy. They've got, Cortland Sutton? Like, they've got weapons. Even the Washington football team, they've got weapons.
Oh,
they've got Ron Rivera, who's been to a Super Bowl.
Absolutely.
It's a little bit weird for him to go back to Washington, but those teams are thinking the same thing the Vikings thought in 2018, that we know that there's some flaws here, but that's okay. We just need somebody better than insert incompetent, all due respect to Taylor Heineke, but like, he's not a starting quarterback in the NFL.
Yes. And in my opinion, Kirk is not Stafford, but I'm not saying that publicly. I'm saying that this is the same thing.
You just did.
I'm saying, but I'm not saying, but if I'm the Vikings, I'm not going to say that publicly. I am going to say, you take your Stafford shot with this guy. Right? I mean, we hate to do it. KOC loves him. It's going to cost a lot. And we will pick up part of his salary cap.
Yeah.
Never before have I had an offer like this.
And you can have it for just $34,999,000.
That's right. We got a quarterback on the market. A quarterback, the best quarterback that you've ever seen, Kirk Cousins.
I think what you should be doing, right, is like you said, look at, hey, Matthew Stafford just did this, but Kirk Cousins has a better career passer rating. Kirk Cousins has more yards per attempt over here. Kirk Cousins has a higher completion percentage over there, right?
And I'm not lying, because the only thing I am not going to talk about is the fact that mentally he has no capability to do this. Because I don't care about that. Because what you see on film, which in the National Football League is gospel, that's what matters.
Yeah. So it's very interesting here. The quarterback carousel, all this is going to heat up in the next month.
Bring on the offseason. I love this.
I got a couple. I'm going to give you guys a couple responses from. I sent a Kevin O'Connell tweet out, just a little wondering a couple things. But the St. Thomas men's hockey team continues its battle through the rugged CCHA. That's right.
Oh, yeah.
Judd's Hockey Show, Puckheads. You can come and support the Tommy's men's hockey team in their last home series of the year against Lake Superior State on Friday and Saturday night. GoTommySports.com for ticket information. That's GoTommySports.com for ticket information. Also, our friends at Federated Mutual Insurance Company are helping business owners all throughout the state of Minnesota and beyond. It's all about maximizing the success of your business through risk management tools, resources. Some of the best people in the industry are here to help fortify and protect and elevate your business. FederatedInsurance.com, and remember, at Federated, it's our business to protect yours.
Reckless speculation.
Any other final quarterback thoughts before I get to back to the KOC stuff here?
No, I'm just excited. I am jubilant about the opportunities here that exist throughout this league for good teams to get better.
So I just tweeted out, is it a little weird that the Vikings haven't sent a press release out about Kevin O'Connell yet? And some people are telling me that Paul Allen went on his radio show today.
Yep.
And apparently, I've gotten this now from multiple people, that he said on his show he was told to come to an event on Thursday at the Vikings facility, and now he has been told that event has been pushed back.
I think I know
canceled.
why. I think I know why. I've done some checking. I think I've got it. DEFCON 5. Now, here's why. KOC has yet to sign the contract, which he probably has to do in person, is my guess. The parade for the Rams is tomorrow. He actually wants to attend the parade, which is okay, whatever, dude. He will then be flown here at some point after that by the Wilfs, and I wonder if now they're going to try and push the press conference to Friday. So it sounds like the wheels
Parade, hangover day Thursday.
Exactly.
Full recovery.
Spoken like a guy who's far closer to KOC's age than me, Declan Goff. KOC going to get full of surly, going to run around town in his chill boys, and won't be here probably to sign his contract when they thought.
So are you?
He's a good-looking guy. He can run around in his skivvies.
Going through this, hilarious. A couple people are saying,
So
I
I
thought
think
you'd be the voice of reason on this.
I think it's okay.
I held out as long as I could.
I think it's okay.
It's a little weird that we're 48 hours later,
but I think it's okay.
He's also been assembling a staff. I would be more nervous if, like, 2 weeks ago, word leaked out that Kevin O'Connell's the guy, and it's like, oh, but there hasn't been any other reports about staff. I mean, his whole staff has basically been hired.
I think to
behind the scenes.
I think to sign the contract, they probably need him in person, and I bet that they want him to sign the contract in like TCO to show like the background with his picture. Kevin O'Connell, 10th head coach. That's my guess.
Okay, I know we got to pause here for a minute, but we'll be back later in the show with some who gets it, who doesn't here. Mackey and Judd, Daily Minnesota Sports Entertainment.